Hi guys, it's Raythe here. I've noticed that we've been getting a lot of the same comments about Dragon's Reign since the end is very near. But here are some of my answers. So a comment is, I'd love to see a continuation of Dragon's Reign where Tilly becomes a shifter and the other dragons find their mates. First of all, I absolutely love that you want to know about Tilly and all the other characters and what's happening to them, but I don't have any plans to do any sequel to Dragon's Reign at this time. I do love that world, but I've got a lot of other things that I'm working on and want to work on. Also, I don't just come up with these stories on the first day that I post them. I have at least 6 months before I start a new story to work out my ideas. And even then, those first chapters are really tough. If you've been a member during a new story, you already know that I go back and revise the first few chapters. Nothing beats the hive mind for pointing out blind spots, can I tell you? So because of that, I knew what would replace Dragon's Reign on the Wraith Reign schedule a long time ago before it even ended. And I'm currently working on what's going to replace Labyrinth, the story that replaced it once that ends. So there is simply no room in my existing calendar for any new stories right now. Plus, as I said, I want to introduce you to new characters and worlds. So though you all know that Dragon's Reign is ending, just so you know, I have been planning on what comes next for a very long time. Okay, another comment is, how can I buy the book series of Dragon's Reign? I'd love to have it in hardbacks. Most of you know this already, but Dragon's Reign is not a book series. It's a serial, which is very different. It started as a web serial and will stay a web serial archived on my site. It's a process to turn a serial into a book series. I would refer you to The Sea, which is serial on my site, versus The Merman, which is the novel series on Amazon. Those are the same story, but they are not at all the same. So Dragon's Reign would take years and years for me to go back and redo if I was going to do it that way. And basically, there are only so many hours in a day. And as a storyteller, I have to admit, I would rather spend my time creating new stories for you to experience. I also have several books on Amazon, which I just talked about. The Merman is one. The Artifact is another series. The Vampires Club is another series. Cinders and Ashes is another series. Curse is another series. So if you want books, and those are actually, a lot of them are in paperback, some are even in hardback, and you can purchase them there. But Dragon's Reign likely will not ever join that group. And if you really want to support me, please think of instead signing up for a membership. That would be so much better. And then you could, read Dragon's Reign to your heart's content there. Also, I totally forgot this. I almost forgot it. Dragon's Reign is available on Kindle Vella, which is Amazon's at Radish. It's basically their serial website, and you can actually purchase to read chapters as they go. I will tell you right now, though, our most expensive membership is $9.95 for a month. To read Dragon's Reign on Amazon would cost you, $50-$60 some bucks if by the end of it, if you're doing it chapter by chapter. I know some people are, and I love them for it. I mean, you can get some free tokens from Amazon, but if you're really looking at dollars and cents, and I know a lot of you don't have like as much money as you'd want to buy all the entertainment you'd want, buying a membership at the site would be just lovely, and it would really support us the most. Another question that comes up, will you have dragon plushies? Oh my God, I get this question all the time, and I wish we could, but we looked into this. I mean, really looked into this, and there are serious issues getting anything made like this in small quantities. If we were to have plushies, we would have to buy a truckload of plushies, a container full of plushies to make them anywhere near reasonable in price for you. Like if you were to go into Etsy and look for homemade dragon plushies, you know how much they cost because that's all hand sewn. And that would be more, quite frankly, more the level of how many people are going to have buy them. Like even if you have a few hundred buy them or even a few thousand, where the hell am I going to store 10,000 dragon plushies? It's just not something that I could do. And also, right now, if you really think about it, even with COVID and everything, we're having problems with the supply chain. Even if we somehow did have 10,000 orders for dragon plushies, I don't think we could get them, to be perfectly blunt. We do have existing merch is print on demand. So you can order like a coffee mug and they can print that up for one person. You can also order hoodies and t-shirts, and there's posters, and there's even a blanket. So if you do want to buy some merch for Dragon's Reign, it does actually exist on the Raythe Reign store. If you go to raythereign.com and you click on the store link on the menu, it can get you there. So you can actually check it out. And I hope that Kat will put this, also the link in the description down below. I mean, I think there was somebody who was like, they'd make them for us, but then it was like, how would we'd have to license it. Anyway, it's just too much right now. We already got so many projects going on that managing that would be just a step too far for us. But you can get, like I said, existing Dragon's Reign merchandise, just not plushies. You promised us that you will have another podcast after Dragon's Reign is done. Can you tell us what is in it? Not yet, even though I am dying to tell you. Like I explained before, we really have a plan in place. You're going to have to wait a few more weeks to find out. I am clearly very excited. We are truly taking a step forward in this, in the sense that we're taking a huge risk. But I think it's going to be worth it. We are creating an amazing work of art, if you will. But we're using this time to good use to get it all going and to have some beautiful art trailers, updated character designs. And I'm actually editing the story we chose to do for the podcast before it's recorded. As you probably know, when I record Dragon's Reign, I find typos and mistakes, often big ones, such as sentences that don't make any sense or stop. So what I've done basically is let the recording roll on while I fix it, leaving Kat with these long gaps of silence to sit through while I stick a Band-Aid on my own writing. Or sometimes I'll be like, oh God, that's awful. No, I got to fix that. What the hell? And then, of course, there will be my cat mewing piteously in the background because she always wants my attention. So that won't happen this time. I'm very excited about that. It's like, wow, we're so professional now. Okay, so another question is, what are Empire of Stars and Everdark? I don't see them on Spotify. So a lot of you who listen to us on YouTube do know what this is, but those listening on Spotify really can't get a flavor of who we are because we don't have a lot of ability to tell you that. Empire of Stars is literally another web serial, just like Dragon's Reign, but I'm reading it aloud with people live. So once a month, I am live reading Empire of Stars to a small audience. You can join the live stream. We actually have them scheduled ahead of time on YouTube so that you can listen, ask questions, talk to me, talk to one another. I get the most interesting questions during those times. And quite frankly, it's like such a blast to be with you guys and like to be acting with you. But the Spotify crew, you guys don't see it because it's not a proper podcast. It's really raw. And also the way Spotify works, you can only change what you're doing via seasons. You can't like do two playlists. So if I'm, finishing up Dragon's Reign, if I wanted to add Empire of Stars, it would be in between the Dragon's Reign chapters, which would be really messed up. So we can't do that. And we can't do it live either. So it's sort of like a really raw thing, but I would really encourage you to come over and check it out. Sign up for our YouTube channel, subscribe there, and then you won't miss anything. I mean, you're missing out on me taking Diet Coke breaks, answering comments in the chat, coughing, chewing my cat off the counter, all that kind of stuff. There's an archive playlist on YouTube, but the quality is definitely not good enough for a podcast. Now, what is Everdark? Everdark, just like Empire of Stars and Dragon's Reign, are all written serials, web serials on my site, raythereign.com, that when you join, you could read. And Everdark is a vampire story. It is my flagship story on the site. It has 2 vampire couples, a secret gothic society of vampires, including an ancient vampire king, vampire religion, magical powers. And this first story is finished at 147 chapters. And I'm now writing the sequel to it, which is, I think, at chapter 60 something when I'm recording this. So it's called Everdark Academy. If you want, definitely sign up on our free book list. And I think Kat gives you links to when you can read the first 10 chapters. I can honestly say it's one of my favorite stories. I love Everdark. I love vampires. And I really do think that if you've loved Dragon's Reign, you will love Everdark too. I think of myself as somebody who is basically writing that chosen one story a lot. So if you like one thing I write, you'll often like a lot of things I write. Another question. Do you write any fantasy, like magic and elves and stuff? Why, yes, quite a bit actually. I have 2 completed web serials on Raythe and a book series called Cinders and Ashes and a manga series based off of one of my web serials called The Dark Earth. And The Dark Earth was my first fantasy series, and I really let my imagination run wild with it. In this one, the main character is named Aiden. He's forced to move to a new town that is populated by elves, creatures, and demons who spill over from another world. He gets mixed up in a battle between the elves and a demon who is worshipped by the townspeople. The next one I really have on this site is called The Elven King's Blade, and it's a literal portal fantasy. Kieran, who has been dying slowly of a strange disease, retreats to his family's house in the country to live out his last months, but something happens when he rescues a literal elven king who stumbles out of a portal into the modern world. Kieran's health starts to improve immediately and discovers that he is the key to preserving the king's life, his own, and the land itself. So both The Dark Earth and The Elven King's Blade are those web serials, like I said, on Raythe, and they are both complete. So you can read them from start to finish. If you were to sign up right now, you could read both of them. They're huge. They're really large stories. My book series that's for fantasy is Cinders and Ashes. And that started as a retelling of Cinderella, but there isn't a whole lot of the original tale in this anymore. So because I really started elaborating and came up with this long saga of fae, secret royalty, life and death, magic, dragons, undead armies, ancient artifacts, and some other stuff too. That series will be finished this summer with book 6. It also is an audiobook form if you want to listen to it. The amazing Edward Fox is narrating it along with Hannah Hart, and they are just awesome. Speaking of book 6 of Cinders and Ashes, if you look at the May calendar schedule on the site, I'm doing something I've never done before, and I feel like sort of an idiot for not doing this, but honestly, writing a book and writing a serial are very 2 different things, so it's going to be interesting if this works. But I'm putting Cinders and Ashes 6 on the schedule. That's right. Members will get first draft chapters as I write them. They'll get to obviously comment and know exactly what's going to happen. They will obviously go see as I go through and edit and do all this crazy stuff with them too. Normally, I don't do this for books, and I'm really curious how this will work. I hope it works because I like to share the other writing I'm doing and get the immediacy of feedback on the books that I get from the serials. I sort of feel like when I'm writing a book that I'm just tossing it out into a black hole, and I really don't know how people feel about it. And this will allow me to have the excitement of knowing that I'm going to put out a chapter, I'm going to get responses right away, and they're going to tell me if it's working or if it's not, if I've forgotten something. But I really want to see how this works. And if it works properly, if it works well for everybody, for me and for members, I will permanently do this then with every book I'm writing. So my May schedule, if you can imagine, is very full. I'm having like 6 additional chapters that I'm writing this month alone to make sure that I have enough time for when the final book needs to be, finished and edited and out the door. So it's going to be fun, I hope. And you don't have to wait for those book chapters if you want to know what's going on, but you can wait. It's all good for that. But I do hope that a lot of the members comment and let me know what they're thinking. And I hope that those of you who have never joined Raythe but have just been enjoying my books on Amazon will consider joining just to watch how this goes and see what it's like. Well, that's it for this little video. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. I'm sure you have a ton more. Please feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will do always more videos like this to try to answer everything that you guys have questions on. Thank you so much for your support. I can't tell you what a thrill it is to share Dragon's Reign with you and the rest of my stories. It's just an amazing and awe-inspiring thing to know that the stuff in my head gives people pleasure. Take care, guys. Talk soon. Bye.